Just a reminder to everybody, we are live streaming, so you are a star on YouTube. All right, Mr. Chair, I think we're ready to go, sir.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. For those who don't know me, Brett Gant.
Just a reminder to everybody, we are live streaming, so
okay,
you are a star on YouTube.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair, I think we're ready to go, sir.
Okay. Something just happened. Well, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. For those who don't know me, Brett Gant.
Just a reminder to everybody.
Okay. Jeez.
We are live streaming, so
okay.
You are a star on YouTube.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair, I think we're ready to go, sir.
Okay. Something just happened.
Having technical difficulties.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. For those who don't know me, Brett Gant.
Just a reminder to everybody.
Okay. Jeez.
We are live streaming, so
okay.
Might be a repeated. All right, you're good, Brett.
Okay, we're good now. Can someone shake their head? Yes. Okay,
yes.
That was weird. Okay, great.
Hey, as a reminder, you're being recorded.
Yes, we're all going to have that for posterity.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. My name is Brett Gant, Town of Apex, and the chair of the Board of Delegates. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And like Lee said, a reminder to everyone that we're being recorded. This will be on live streamed on the Central Pines Regional Council YouTube channel. And we'd like everybody to identify themselves by name each time they speak during the meeting to comply with virtual meeting laws. All votes will be conducted by a roll call to comply with virtual meeting laws, and Beth Davis will call roll each time a vote is needed. And before she goes, I want to thanks everyone for being flexible about the virtual meeting, and hope everybody enjoyed the snow, and looking forward to seeing you guys in person next time we have a meeting like this. So Beth, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. All right. And I think we have a few new people on, but what we normally do is I just go down the list by jurisdiction. So if you'll just tell us your name and just tell us that you're here. So that's all we need to do. So we'll start with Aberdeen.
Wilma Laney, present.
Anger. Apex.
Brett Gant, present.
Archer Lodge. Benson. Broadway. Carborough.
Randy Haven O'Donnell, present.
Carthage. Cary.
Jennifer Robinson and Sarika Bansal are present.
Chapel Hill.
Michael Parker is here.
Chatham County. Clayton. City of Durham. Durham County.
Mike Lee is here.
Fuquay-Varina.
Brian Haynes, present.
Hillsborough.
Kathleen Ferguson, present for Hillsborough.
Holly Springs.
Chris DeShazer is here for Holly Springs, as well as Tim Forrest.
Johnston County.
Butch Lauder, present.
Kenley. Nightdale. Lee County. Micro.
Katie Garcia, present.
Moore County. Morrisville.
Steve Rao, present.
Orange County.
Jean Hamilton, present.
And Sally Green, alternate, present.
Okay. Pine Level. Pine Bluff,
Gary Williams here.
Pinehurst,
Jeff Morgan here.
Pittsburgh, Princeton.
Pamela Baldwin, present.
Oh, gotcha. Princeton,
Stacy Johnson, present.
Raleigh, Robbins.
Mitchell Silver, present.
Okay, for Raleigh. Okay, Robbins, Rollsville,
Ronnie Kern, present.
Sanford,
Rebecca Salmon, present.
Selma,
Byron McAllister, present.
Siler City, Smithfield, Southern Pines, Vass, Wake County,
Susan Evans, present.
Wake Forest,
Nick Slowinski, present.
Wendell,
Joe DeLoach, I'm here.
Whispering Pines, Wilson's Mills,
David McGowan, present.
Zebulon, we have quorum.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending and making sure we can have this meeting. And thank you, Beth, for the roll call. The next section of the agenda is the Get to Know CPRC. This is a section that I wanted to do when I joined as chair because I like to appreciate kind of where we come from in this organization. So this is great. I love this one. Okay, so this is about the budget. So let me read this off, and I want you guys to guess. All right. So the recommended budget for the Research Triangle Regional Planning Commission, which was a predecessor to the Triangle J and the Central Pines, for fiscal year 1961 through 1962 was a total of, does anyone want to guess what the total budget was 61 to 62?
$10,000.
$10,000. Okay, that's the first guess. Anybody else? All
I'd
right,
say
Will.
300.
$300?
No,
300,000?
300K.
Okay. All right. We got a nice range there. The answer is $41,815. Funding for that year came from $15,000 roughly from in federal grants, $500 for the Hillsborough grant 61 and 62, and $25,750 from local government members. And the way that money was spent, that large sum, $26,000 for the Regional Land Development Sewage Facilities Study, and $15,000 for general purposes, which included the rent of the offices of the council, which was 257 square feet in the Haynes Building in RTP for $385, one Durham telephone line, a boldface directory listing and long distance calls for a total of $570, 2,500 miles of travel at 8 cents a mile, and the purchase of a map file and a 4-drawer vertical file and typewriter for a total of $666. So that I think is just wonderful. So anyway, now you know the budget from 61 to 62. Next on the agenda is, any comments? a little more now for our budgets, Susan?
Yeah, I love the flashback. Thanks.
I know. Great. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's it's probably a lot of money back in the day, but yeah, it's kind of funny to see those numbers now. Okay, next we have a review of the agenda. You guys have hopefully gotten the agenda in the email. Is there a slide for the agenda items, Beth? Okay, nope. Okay. Well, hope you guys have had a chance to review the agenda. Does anyone have any changes they'd like to make to the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, then I will approve the agenda and we'll proceed. Next, we have the recognition of new board members. So here's a photo, and we have one extra we need to mention. I'd like to introduce the new delegates and alternates. New delegates and alternates join the CPRC Board of Delegates yearly because of elections and local government appointment processes. Each January, the board welcomes these new board members to the Board of Delegates, and we like each new board member and alternate to introduce themselves. So, do we have, I didn't listen well enough. Do we have Michelle Burton from Durham County? Okay, I'll move on. Alternate delegate Mike Lee from Durham County. I believe he's on. Mike, would you say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Just so you know, Michelle Burton is in Winston-Salem now for training, for government training. And she was on, but she jumped off because she's been traveling all day. So she's getting something to eat. I'm Mike Lee. I am a Durham County Commissioner. I was sworn in December. I've paid attention to these meetings for a very long time. I'm excited about being here. Even though I'm an alternate, I'll probably be at most meetings because I'm very interested in what we're doing here. And yeah, I live in Durham, and I'm really excited about being here and being part of this group.
Thank you, Mike. If you see Michelle join later, let me know. We'll try to get her a chance to introduce herself.
Sure.
Next, we have Delegate Tom Adams from Moore County. He's on. Not sure. And then alternate delegate Jim Von Cannon from Moore County. Okay. Well, if anybody sees them on, let's have them introduce themselves. Not pictured, but on this call, and excited to have Mitchell Silver from Raleigh as a new delegate. Mitchell, would you come on if you don't mind and say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Mitchell Silver, elected to City Council, sworn in December. Was very active in planning, served as a Raleigh Plan Director from 2005 to 2014. So I am the delegate. We just got our appointments late this week. So I'm not even sure who the alternate is, but it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much. We're really glad to have. Oh, sorry.
I was like, Mitch, I remember when you presented to the COG in 2013, 2014, and that is still one of the best presentations on planning I have ever seen.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. I'm glad to be back in a very different role, but planning is still near and dear to my heart. And when I first saw Central Pines, I'm like, what is that? And someone told me it was the old Triangle J. So
I wanted to add, Mitchell, it's great to see you. We're so glad to have you. And you didn't mention that after you left Raleigh, you went to New York City and did very exciting work there.
I didn't know how quick you wanted me to go, but yes, I left Raleigh. I got to run New York City's park system for about 8 years, some 2,000 parks, 10,000 employees. My term ended in 2021. I told everybody I'm returning to Raleigh. Nobody believed me. Now they do. And so now I'm in a different role. I retired from my day job as a consultant in June. So I decided to get back into public service. It's a pleasure to be with all of you here as a delegate.
That's great. That Highline Trail is out of this world. So I guess you had a little hand in that, or at least help maintaining that. Anyway, we're glad to have you, Mitchell. Okay. Next, we have a resolution of sympathy. I'm unfortunately have to do this one for Mayor Jerry Medlin of the town of Benson, who died recently. And I'd like to read a resolution that we have for Jerry. And this is in your packet as well. Okay, it's a resolution of sympathy in remembrance and honor of Jerry Medlin. Whereas the death of Jerry Medlin on November 13th, 2024 leaves us with a deep feeling of sorrow for the loss of such a respected community member. And Jerry was a lifelong resident of Benson, North Carolina, growing up in the Elevation community and serving as president of his class at Benson High School. And whereas Jerry is survived by his daughter, son, daughter-in-law, granddaughter, grandchildren, brother, sister-in-law, and beloved cat, baby girl. And whereas Jerry had a strong, determined work ethic, graduating from Campbell College with a business degree and serving as a member of the National Guard while continuing to work on his family farm. And whereas Jerry served the town of Benson with distinction as a town commissioner for 4 years and mayor for 7 years, and served as a delegate on the Central Pines Regional Council Board since 2018. And whereas Jerry had a passion for community and public service, building relationships with national, state, regional, and local community members, and serving on numerous community boards, including the Benson Singing Convention Board, Johnston County Mayors Association, and the I-95 Crossroads of America Economic Development Alliance. And whereas Jerry made time for his other passions, including as a devoted Mason for over 50 years, a member of the American Legion, and a dedicated gardener. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Central Pines Regional Council Board of Delegates hereby extends to the members of his family and community this expression of sincere regret for his loss, and hope that they will be consoled by the memories of his exemplary life, respected leadership, and many achievements. Adopted this 22nd day of January 2025. Lee, would you mind saying a few words about Mayor Medlin?
Sure. Good evening, members of the board and others that are on. Yeah, there's lots of great memories of the mayor. First of all, you knew when he was on a meeting. He had a booming and commanding voice that was part of his leadership, and you knew he had passion about the things that he was interested in. But I think what I'm going to remember most is a specific meeting I had with him. I went down to Benson to meet with the town manager and just happened to walk by, and he was sitting in his office and invited me in. And man, I think we talked for an hour just about Benson and about how proud he was of the community. He had lots of pictures on his wall about the community, but he was very proud about the economic development opportunities and the progress that the town was making toward a lot of different goals. And just walked around talking about the pictures. And it was wonderful just to get to know him better over that hour. And I know the community of Benson misses him. I know we're going to miss him. Yeah, it was wonderful knowing him. And Mr. Chair, thank you for reading the resolution. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for those words, Lee. Does anyone want to add any thoughts on Mayor Medlin?
Yeah, this is Byron McAllister, Mayor of Selma, North Carolina, here in Johnston County. I can tell you, Mayor Medlin was certainly working hard until his last day. One of the last conversations I had with him a few days before he passed away was him reminding me of all the things that I needed to do and we needed to do in Johnston County to make sure that the progress that we were experiencing continued. And even when he wasn't feeling well, you could still feel his passion for Benson and his passion for Johnston County, his passion for North Carolina. So a man who served others until the very end.
Thank you, Mayor.
Steve Rao. This is Steve Rao. I knew him very well and was just he was such a great man and was always so supportive. And I was so saddened to know his loss, but he did have the voice of God, and I would love seeing him at the in-person meetings. He just had a great smile and was so wonderful to serve with.
This is Butch Lauder, Chairman of the Johnston County Commissioners. Had a chance for the 6 years I've been on the board to get to know Jerry a little bit better. Knew him when I was on the Clayton Town Council. But Lee, talking about his voice and the command, he was also a very tall man. So he commanded a presence wherever he was. And he did love Benson. And like Lee, and I'm sure Mayor McAllister spent many hours listening to Jerry talk about the town of Benson and Johnston County.
Amen.
A great leader for Benson and for Johnston County that will be sorely missed as we move forward. A lot of the stuff he's like Byron. I've got a list of things that to make sure that I do to carry on. So.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Lauder, for that, and everyone who spoke of it. Anybody else before we move on? Okay. Well, this resolution will be placed on the consent agenda. Okay. Next, we have a membership request from Foxfire Village. I am so happy to be able to present this item to you guys. Myself, along with Lee and Miss Laney, were able to visit Foxfire last month, or this month actually, not too long ago, and meet with the mayor and I believe it was the town manager or administrator. Had a great meeting. The mayor, who I believe is on, had a lot of great questions about what Central Pines does. I learned some stuff during that series of questions, but it was a great meeting. It was great meeting the mayor and seeing the town, and hope to go back there sometime soon. So a little bit of a for those who don't know, Foxfire Village, located in Moore County, is requesting membership in the Central Pines Regional Council effective today. At the village recent board meeting, the council adopted the resolution accepting and approving Central Pines Regional Council's bylaws and charter resolution and is now petitioning for membership. All requirements for CPRC membership have been fulfilled, and the request must be approved by the board of delegates to become official. And I believe we have the mayor in attendance. Mayor, would you like to say anything about your village of Foxfire?
Yes, sorry, I'm a little new to Zoom and I'm not very good at it. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know that we are very anxious to join your group again. I know years ago we were also part of what was Triangle J, and we're anxious to really get involved with your organization, and we're looking forward to the synergies that will help us build a stronger community. We're a very small community, and we're looking forward to becoming a member.
Well, thank you so much. We are excited about the possibility. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution for membership?
With great pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ferguson. Do we have a second?
Wilma Laney, second.
I think that was Ms. Laney. Thank you so much. Beth, would you do the roll call vote for the resolution for membership?
Absolutely. All righty. And just a reminder, I know we have a couple of alternates on as well as the delegates. We just do one vote per jurisdiction. All righty. Aberdeen.
Wilma Laney, aye.
Anger. Apex.
Brett Gant, aye.
Archer Lodge. Benson. Broadway. Cameron. Carborough.
Randy Haven O'Donnell, aye.
Carthage. Cary.
Jennifer Robinson, aye.
Clayton. City of Durham. Durham County.
Mike Lee, aye.
Fuquay-Varina.
Brian Haynes, aye.
Hillsborough.
Kathleen Ferguson, aye.
Holly Springs.
Krista Shazer, aye.
Johnston County.
Butch Lauder, aye.
Kenley. Nightdale.
Mark Swan, aye.
Lee County. Micro.
Katie Garcia, aye.
Moore County. Morrisville.
Steve Rao, aye.
Orange County,
Gene Hamilton, I.
Pine Level, Pine Bluff,
Gary Williams, I.
Pinehurst,
Jeff Morgan, I.
Pittsburgh,
Pamela Baldwin, I. Pamela
Princeton.
Baldwin, I.
Gotcha. Princeton,
Stacy Johnson, aye.
Raleigh,
Mitchell Silver, aye.
Robbins, Rollsville,
Ronnie Kern, I.
Sanford,
Rebecca Salmon, I.
Selma,
Byron McAllister, aye.
Siler City, Smithfield, Southern Pines, Vass, Wake County,
Susan Evans, I.
Wake Forest,
Nick Slowinski, I.
Wendell,
Joe Deloach, aye.
Whispering Pines, Wilson's Mills,
David McGowan, I.
Zebulon.
Shannon Baxter, I.
All right, that's unanimous.
Okay, well, with that vote done, I'd like to officially welcome the Foxfire Village to the Central Pines Regional Council. We're so glad to have you guys. Mayor, as I mentioned in our meeting, you know, I think our organization is connected, or our region is connected in a way that maybe didn't used to be with all the growth that's been happening. And every single member of this organization makes it stronger as a result. So we're really glad to have you. We're excited about getting involved in Foxfire, and you guys get involved with us. And congratulations. Okay, next we have the legislative outlook for 2025. Presenters for this include Kevin Leonard from the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, Executive Director. Oh, and Executive Director, sorry, this is written in a way, it's weird. Okay, Kevin Leonard from the NC Association of County Commissioners, and Rose Vaughn Williams from the North Carolina League of Municipalities. I believe we have a couple more possibly. Aaron Wynia from the North Carolina League of Municipalities as well. So welcome to Rose and Kevin, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Gant. I appreciate that. Rose and I get to do this often together, and it's always a great opportunity to be with my friend Rose and my counterpart over at the league. Rose, I'm fine to go first. I'm looking for, oh, by the way, Beth, are we able to take the screen share off? I don't know if we're able to do that or not. There we go. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And just sound check, everybody can hear me okay? All right, terrific. Rose, if it's okay, I'll try to lead us off and we can go back and forth. Is that all right with you? All right, wonderful. I'm joined with my colleague, who is our Deputy General Counsel, Adam Pridemore, and I wanted to recognize him on the screen as well. Adam's been with us for 7 years, is that right, Adam? And has done a lot of government relations work during that time. So Adam and I will go back and forth on some of this presentation. And when Rose and I do these things together, there's always the fear of doing overlapping stuff. So if I steal thunder, Rose, I apologize. The intent is to hit highlights from us and then allow some conversation time with the group, some Q&A time. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. And thank you to the members of the COG and for your public service. It's so good to see many of you that I recognize. The work that you do is extraordinarily important. Both Rose and I have had the opportunity to work at all levels of government. And I don't know if I can speak for you, Rose, but you correct me if I'm wrong, but county government, local government, city government is where it is at, where the action happens. And we know that for you. The association and the league are places you can go to when you need a pep talk or when you need some help. And that's why we exist and that's why we're here. And so do the COGs, and we know that. So we have great partnerships with our COGs and especially with Lee, who's been a friend for many years with city and county experience and is a great leader in the COG world and in the county and city world. So y'all are lucky to have Lee as your leader. I wanted to give a shout out to Apex, Holly Springs, and Cary because I live in Wake County in an area that is unincorporated, but I affectionately call Capex Springs. It's over near that like 1010 Holly Springs area that's unincorporated, and my mailing address is Apex. So, I claim all those places. So to those leaders on the call, thank you so much for representing myself and our family because I'm a resident. I'm not only a member, but I'm a constituent as well. So thank you for your service. Lee, in describing to us what to talk about high level legislative update of what's happening, and try to maybe drill down a little bit into what the association priorities are. We distributed to you in advance of the meeting our legislative goal set, which was determined by our membership last November, which is pretty lengthy. So that's why we sent it to you in advance. If you really want to get in depth in any of those questions, please feel free to ask me. I will concentrate on the top 5 of those. Just a little bit of background. I think everybody here knows the association well and the league, but if not, we've been around a while, since 1908, both associations. And we take very seriously our mission, which is to represent y'all at the General Assembly, but we do so much more than that. Deviating from the league a little bit here, just to talk about the association, we are venturing into spaces of representing you and some success stories that I want you to know about. From advocacy. We do the education and conferences. And in fact, the Durham County Commissioner who said that one of your colleagues is in Winston, that's where I am in a hotel room in Winston, because Rose and I get to go around the state to do our essentials of county government or essentials of municipal government. So it's like new county commissioner school. And we love those programs. So we're doing that tomorrow and Friday here in Forsyth County. So education and training. We're also venturing into places of technical assistance. We've been doing that for a while now, since COVID. We have a program at the association called Strategic Member Services, which stands up technical assistance aimed mainly at ARPA funding. That's what it was originally designed for, but we also do opioid technical assistance for the opioid settlement dollars that come in. So we have a whole team specialized in that. So if our county folks on the call need that type of expertise or detailed technical assistance, we can do that. And I want to mention our presidential focus this year is on celebrating public service. T. Davis is a Warren County Commissioner who is a newly retired highway patrol officer who spent numbers of years serving there and in public service. And he understands what it takes to serve. And so highlighting the fact of public service as well as the need for workforce pipeline, because people need to get into this business, right? Talking about workforce for your cities and for your counties, because we desperately need new finance officers and a future pipeline of county administrators. And so the association is working on those things through the programs and highlighting it through President Davis's initiative, which is called Heroic Hands, Celebrating Public Service. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those things. Why don't I do this? I was going to go next into talking about new political leadership as the General Assembly has changed and the new governor. That's what I was going to do, Rose. But why don't I stop talking, turn it over to Rose to give a little bit of an introduction from the league. That way you don't zone out from listening to my monotone voice.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I think that was very nice. It's always good to be with you on these. Very great to be with you all from this COG tonight. Thank you, Kevin. I'll do that, and then we'll go back to our legislative discussion, I guess, which we hope it will be a discussion with any questions you may have to follow. But I am Rose Vaughn Williams. I'm the Executive Director of your North Carolina League of Municipalities. This is one of our favorite COGs because it's a North Carolina League of Municipality President Growth Area. We have several league presidents from your COG, including Jennifer Robinson from Cary on the call, the late Bob Matheny, and current Mayor Pro Tem of Durham, Mark Anthony Middleton, and I'm sure there are others. But very much appreciate this COG for many reasons, including the fact that you do have a great director and a great partner for cities and counties in Lee Worsley. We appreciate that very much. When voices are together, we're unified, we're strong, and we're all better. And Lee is a great example of that. Like Kevin, I'm partnering right now, our team is, with the School of Government, traveling the state with Essentials for Municipal Government on our side, training newly elected and re-elected municipal officials on governing and all things municipal governing. And this is, when I say re-elected, it's many times elected folks attend who have been in office many years. And many times I love it to see cities all coming together. Even though some have been on the council for many years, it's a way to grow together and bond together as a council with new members. And I think that's fantastic. The league has a number of affiliate groups that you have women in municipal government. You've had a great leader there, and Kathleen Ferguson from Hillsborough on this call and in this COG. The North Carolina Mayors Association is one of those, and they're having a retreat February 12th in Chapel Hill at the Rizzo Center. And if you would like to attend that event and you haven't registered, just let me know. Contact us at the league because the registration is closed, but we will get you in. The league is here to help you. Like the county association and what Kevin said, we've been around for over 100 years. And many of the things we offer are the same, and many have grown and are different. Some base things that we do that help your city employees you may not even be aware of. And your city staff is providing salary information for city employees. What do certain jobs make in certain size cities? What are the fringe benefits cities are offering? Revenue reports. What sales tax income is looking like to come to your city. As you know, cities bring in a whole lot more of that tax than they keep. They only keep 36%. HR guidance and advice for cities, legal advice, education, just like the county association providing education to elected officials in basic finance, also to city employees, especially those in towns that don't have managers, on basic finance, accounting, firefighter safety training, police safety training, and others as well. Communications is a big part of what we do. Information is power, whether that's letting you know what's been filed in the General Assembly that's going to affect cities and towns, or just something on best practices or an issue that's before everyone. We have a number of platforms, from a magazine to weekly newsletters to a particular legislative bulletin. You don't have to read the whole thing, check the bullets, see what might be relevant for you, and move on from there for what you need. Obviously, lobbying is a legacy thing that we do, and that's one reason we're here tonight. We have a team of in-house lobbyists, and we have an outside lobbying firm that we use. Former House Speaker Harold Brubaker and his team lobbies for cities and towns in the General Assembly. We also lobby for regulatory agencies and Congress as well, as needed. I want to see if I may take the privilege, before I stop, Kevin, and see if I can share my screen, and we'll see how that goes. Oh, it's disabled. That's okay. Do not worry. It doesn't. I just want to let you know about some events. Coming up February 26th, I was going to give you a QR code, very fancy, but February 26th is our Town and State Dinner. That will be in Raleigh this year, one big dinner at the Marriott in downtown Raleigh. This is a dinner where city officials can invite their legislators to come to dinner. The league will pick up the legislators tab. You issue the invite. You may already have a great relationship with your legislator. It's just a time to come to Raleigh, solidify that, where they have to be, the legislators have to be. If you don't have a good relationship, it's always good to get together and literally break bread together at a nice dinner. And our other big gathering coming up will be here before you know it in the spring, which is our annual conference, which will be in Greenville, North Carolina. And if I have my screen up, and I will tell you that date because I should know it, April 29th through May 1st for City Vision. And then the next thing I'll do is go back to Kevin before I turn it over to our Director of Government Affairs. I'll go to you first, Kevin.
Great.
Thank you. Nice.
Thank you, Rose. Hopefully that sets the stage about who we are, if you don't know who we are. And please know that there's so much more we want to tell you about our organizations, because there's so much for y'all to take advantage of with both organizations, and we really want you to. How about this, Rose? I'm going to hit some sort of just the political landscape information, throw it over to Adam to talk about a preview of the session, and then over to Erin for her take on the session as well. And then I'll go to our top 5 goals and maybe your top legislative priorities. We'll end with that and then do Q&A. Good? Awesome. Before I jump into that, I have to say, I want to recognize Lee again and Rose for the work on the Helene recovery, because the work that's been done with the COGS out west particularly, and the league and the association working together, I think is exemplar, pretty awesome, cutting edge, cool work. How about that? I really have been told, this isn't frothy talk, as what Commissioner up in the mountains has said, that we've been told by FEMA and national leaders that the work that's been accomplished in North Carolina by the local governments and the associations is unlike anything they've seen in any other state. And I think it goes to the partnerships that we have, as well as the infrastructures of our local government entities here in North Carolina. So if you're native to North Carolina and you haven't seen outside of North Carolina, you should be very proud of the work that the local governments have been doing here in North Carolina. And we have a long, long history of that. Lee has been working on a lot of those issues, trying to take care of some of those managers, even out west, even though he's stationed here. Okay, digging into the politics. Let's talk what's happening in Raleigh. New governor. A lot of this stuff is basic information. Y'all will already know it, so I'm just putting it out on the table to make sure that we all are working from the same playbook here. But obviously, a new governor. My friends out of the state of North Carolina are kind of like, how in the heck did you elect Trump and a Democrat governor? What's going on in North Carolina? Well, North Carolina is just one of those states. We like to split our tickets on our ballots. So we have a Democrat governor and a Republican legislature. And y'all can feel how you want to feel about all that stuff. I'm just telling you that that's the way that it is. And so we have a Democrat governor, and that's not a change from Cooper, but we do have a change in the person, and that all of the new people are starting to take their spots, meaning the cabinet secretaries. And Rose and I and our teams are getting, we're getting to know them now. We're setting up those meetings to getting to know them. Phil Berger, Constance. Phil Berger remains the Senate pro tem in the Senate. So he might be the longest serving. I'll look at Adam. I don't know if he's the longest serving pro tem in the history of the United States or history of North Carolina or not, but he's got to be rivaling it up there. And things in the Senate pretty much the same. Still a supermajority in the Senate, 30 to 20 in the Senate. Phil Berger's definitely in charge there. Destin Hall, the new Speaker of the House, the former Speaker of the House, Tim Moore, went to Congress. So he was the longest serving Speaker in the history of North Carolina, and now is being replaced by a new member from Caldwell County who is a younger generation. So things are changing in the House. A little bit more raucous in the House, which, by the way, I used to work in the House, and that's fun. That's fun. That's why the House is raucous. It's the people's house, and they have a one vote. It's not a supermajority by one vote. So that's the margin there. So every vote counts in the House, and you should just be watching the House for all kinds of fun. If you like this stuff, just tune in and watch the House. But it's going to be very difficult to manage the House in the caucuses to get things through, to get things done. I imagine that the Speaker is going to have his hands full working through that process. Oh, that's Destin Hall, by the way. Another slate of council state members. I won't go through them all, but I'll highlight Brad Briner, who's the treasurer, and Dave Bullock, who's the auditor. And I'm saying those two names specifically because they're going to have significant influence on you in local government. And our relationship with the treasurer and the auditor are going to be important. The LGC, of course, is within the treasurer's office, and the treasurer is the chair of the LGC. So trying to get to know the new treasurer is really important in determining his philosophy on how he's going to operate the LGC. And I know that Rose and I both have already had introductory meetings with him and our teams to work on making the best pitch we can for why local government needs as much flexibility and supports as he can provide. In fact, we're working with his office now, even before he was sworn in, on loan programs for the Helene issues. And then the auditor, the auditor sits on the LGC commission as well. And if you've been around a while, you know that the former auditor had lots of things to say about local governments and how they should be acting as it relates to turning audits in on time. So we want to make sure that we have great relationships and introductions into those two offices specifically. If you want to talk about any of the other Council of State members later on, we can, but I thought it was important to highlight those two to you. I will say this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Adam to give his thoughts on a preview for the session and sort of some of the logistics of the session, just general how it works, when they get started, when they end, which is a crystal ball. We'll find out. But we have a county caucus. I know the league has a city caucus, a municipal caucus. The county caucus is in this important to understand our avenues into advocacy in the legislature. We currently have 34 members of the county caucus. These county caucus members are members who used to be county commissioners and now are legislators. And it's our job to go in and remind them that they used to be county commissioners when they're sitting in the legislature. And so usually they do. Sometimes we have to hey, do you remember when you used to be a board member? We want you to remember that, right? And so they need that little nudge. And so we have those conversations with them. But they're great allies when we're moving through the General Assembly process. And oftentimes they are our champions for legislation if we need to move things through that. It's a question mark on how Stein and the General Assembly are going to get along. Right now, it's looking pretty good because of the Helene stuff is a common issue that they're working on. But it's early. We're only in the third week of the new year. Adam, you want to give us the preview, and then we'll turn it over to Aaron.
Sure. I appreciate it, Kevin, and thank you all for having me and for having us. Yeah, as you probably know, the legislators that were elected in November are elected for a 2-year term, and the sessions go along with that as a 2-year biennium. We have just started the 2025 first year of the biennium, the 2025 long session. You might think, didn't session just end? And it sure did. The 2024 short session just concluded officially, and I think mid-December they adjourned that session, doing a little bit of business there at the end of the year. But the long session commenced on January 8th. They typically will do that. They kind of go into kind of an organizational session where they hatch out appointments for committees and hashing out all the rules that they're going to abide by for the session. And they're coming back in earnest to start the session next week on January 29th. How long session will go? It's anybody's guess at this point. A lot of other states have either prescribed dates that a session must end by or prescribed number of days that their assemblies or legislatures are allowed to be in session. North Carolina does not have that. So there's really no external or pressure necessarily for them to wrap up sessions. And we've seen sessions kind of creep longer and longer and longer over the past, well, since I've been doing this, but it probably for at least the last decade. Adjournment is typically driven by how fast they can come to terms with passing a state budget. That's typically the largest lift of the legislative session, the bill that drives the most debate and the most kind of time and energy. And it'll be interesting this year. I think Kevin mentioned that we, of course, still have a Democratic governor, Republican House and Senate, supermajority in the Senate. The House lost its supermajority by one vote. So, in theory, for legislation now to pass, there has to be at least a little bit of bipartisanship. I know the new speaker has said publicly that he's very confident that they have a working supermajority, and they've done pretty well in the past when the situation has arisen to be able to swing one or two Democrat votes, but there has been a few issues and bills in the past where that slim supermajority was able to hold and keep some legislation from becoming law. So we'll see how long session goes and where we go. That's some major issues that we suspect could pop up during the session outside of the state budget. Of course, would be continued kind of chipping away and shifting of powers that we saw a little bit of that late in the 2024 session after the election, where the General Assembly might on the which party is holding certain offices and based on who won the elections. Disaster relief and recovery will, of course, be top of mind for the legislature as well. I know that new Speaker Caldwell has said as such. I think it'll be interesting to see 2 years ago, Senator Phil Berger was very adamant and proactive in pushing the legalization of casinos in North Carolina and met some opposition in the House, and that became a big butting of heads between the two chambers and really slowed down the budget process. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of where that discussion goes this year.
By the way, we're taking bets on whether that passes or not, right? So it's always a good joke. I can't stop doing that. Sorry.
School funding and the private school opportunity scholarships or vouchers, the push and pull there can probably likely continue to be something that gets debated in the General Assembly over this session. I'll hold on something that I think probably the league will also touch on, but down zoning, we're hoping becomes an issue in the sense that the prohibition on down zoning that made its way into a bill very late in the year last session. We're hoping to get some traction on getting repealed or amended. And with that, I'll just kind of stop because I know that I don't want to take all of the league's time as well, but just kind of flagging where we are in session, but it's about to start. Some high level, high profile things that could end up rising to the top of the new legislature's agenda.
Very good. All right, Kevin, shall I call on Aaron Lee, Mr. Chairman? That all sounded good. Very good. Aaron Winya is our Director of Legislative Advocacy of the League. Great lawyer, longtime member, employee of the League, been there over 15 years, and really a master of complex city issues and statutes and lobbying. So Aaron is going to be on audio only, I think, but I'll turn it over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Rose. It's a very kind introduction, and I apologize to everybody that you're not seeing my face. It's just equipment malfunctioning over here today. I can't seem to get my video to work, and I've been on a bazillion of these calls because we had a snow day today. So like a lot of you, maybe you're having flashbacks to the pandemic. I certainly was. So I want to make this a little more interactive with you since you can't see me. And so first, I'd like to ask if there are any issues you all have at the top of your mind. If you can put it in the chat, I'll make sure to try to address it. And if I can't, then I'm going to throw it back to Adam. Tag, you're it, Adam. Just kidding. And I had a couple of things that I wanted to add just as we're starting the session here. For you all as local officials, you've probably already had conversations with your legislators about any local bills that you might want to get teed up for this session. I just wanted to put in the chat for you the deadlines for requesting those bills. And so I just put that in there. They're different depending on whether you're asking a senator or a member of the House, but they are coming up soon, y'all, like the next couple of weeks. So if there is anything that you intend to ask your legislator to do for you this session, if you haven't already done it, do it tomorrow. You cannot wait much longer. They are really off to the races. And Adam and Kevin, I liked your characterization of saying that we have to wait and see how these relationships are going to work, between Governor Stein and the legislature or between the two chambers. My sense of it, our sense of it, is that the relationship between the governor's staff and legislative staff will be good. All indications are that they are working cooperatively right now. That doesn't mean you won't see partisan bickering in the media, but they, I think, will know how to separate that from the very important tasks that they have to work together on, particularly in the economic development and disaster recovery realm. We also think that there is potential for prolonged discussions between the House and the Senate leadership themselves. That always happens when you have supermajority rule, which is basically what we're working with now. And especially this year, because the Senate is the one that will propose the budget first, they tend to hold the upper hand in a lot of things anyway, partly because there's just less of them. It's not as wily as the House that Kevin was describing that he worked for. So they can enforce some discipline in the chamber in the way that the House can't. With new House leadership and senior and seasoned Senate leadership, we think there's the potential for the Senate to really push to get its way this session. So I think, relationships with senators are really at a premium right now. Moving on from that, thank you all so much for putting topics into the chat. I am seeing downzoning, definitely top of everyone's mind. I also see something about solar tax credits, which Adam and Kevin, I'll let you all take because that's kind of more in your wheelhouse. So the downzoning provision, I bet a lot of you are familiar with. This was passed in December. Procedurally, the legislature did it in a way that left us no opportunity to change or influence. And I want to make sure you know that. You all learned about it at the same time everybody else did, including us. And the way that it was proposed, there was not a single punctuation mark or word in that bill that could have been changed. So what we're left with now is trying to explain to legislators why they messed up your ability to zone. And so we have been doing that. We also have been considering, if there is not the opportunity for a repeal, how it might be rewritten. We've been consulting with city attorneys across the state who have a lot of experience with this. And I think that we're positioned well to have a conversation. I was really glad to see comments from Senate Majority Leader Phil Berger. Sorry, he is not the majority leader. Y'all, it's the end of the night. Senate President Pro Tem Phil Berger, saying that he was open to suggestions on how to change that provision. So that's really encouraging, but it's still going to take an awful lot of work. The way that you can best advocate, Chairman Gant, I see that in the chat that you're asking for. The way you can best advocate is by putting it in very real and simple terms to your legislator. Don't just say something like, it's going to mess up our ability to change our UDO. Most legislators, first off, don't know what a UDO stands for. even if they did understand the acronym, they may not understand exactly what it is. And to just say that your ability to zone is going to be limited by this provision also isn't very descriptive. Instead, it might be something like, we were really hoping that we'd be able to update our zoning code to prevent vape shops from going near the school down the street. And now, because of this law, we really question whether we can do that. That's a tangible, real example. That's what they need to hear. If there's a development that was approved and now this bill is putting, or this new law is putting that development on hold, talk about that development. Better yet, bring that developer with you into the conversation with the legislator. Really make it real for them so they understand the effects on your community. Let them know that if you're recruiting a new business that needs some accommodations from your zoning code, you may not be able to do that anymore because of all the limitations that this places on you. So I think focusing on the effects rather than the words on the page is the important thing. With that, Adam, would you like to speak to the solar tax credits?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Adam,
say something. Yeah.
Well, how about this? Why don't I just run down the list of our top 5 priorities, because the solar tax credit is in that, and then we'll hit 2 birds with 1 stone. And then I'll throw it over to Rose for their top priorities if they have any. I know you do, for their top priorities, and then we can like close it out for Q&A. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
All right. So our top, as I said earlier, we have a robust process to set our legislative priorities that many of you on the call may have taken part in. We have, Adam, what's the final number? What's the big number? How many goals do we have overall?
I think we landed at about 41.
Yeah. So it's a big package of legislative priorities that range from real big stuff to real finite stuff, real, specific things. And then we ask our members to rank them. Our number one priority this year is support legislation promoting teacher and classified school personnel recruitment and retention, including state funding for increased salaries. So it's a departure from what we've been talking about in the past on capital. This has to do with salaries for teachers and recruitment because it's such an issue that our counties are facing. And what I take from this, from our members, is that the demand for funding on the counties is so great to compete with one another on salaries at the local level. They're begging the state to pay more so that they don't have to do the supplementals that they're doing across the state. And they need they need the state to fill that funding so they can take the funding and put it in capital where they should be doing that. Anyway, that's how I take that. That's me reading the tea leaves. Number 2 is the solar tax credit. And here I will pitch it over to Adam, like you said, Aaron, if you can talk a little bit about that, and then I'll go to 3, 4, and 5 real quickly.
Yeah, sure. These tax credits, I believe, were implemented in the mid 2000s, 2008, maybe around then, to really kind of encourage investment by the solar industry. It's an exclusion of property tax. It lowers the property tax base for the county. I think at this point they've kind of they've worked in the sense that there's a growing number of solar farms. I think North Carolina ranks about 4th in the nation in terms of solar farms. So the argument being, one, of course, our counties would love to be able to tax that land for full value of what it's worth, because we still are providing services, and 2, that the incentive has worked. The solar farms are here, and they're very profitable and seem to be continuing to grow. So I think that's where obviously that specific goal comes from, is really just growing the tax base.
And generally speaking, we are against things like the state telling us to exempt property tax and not filling the hole that it creates when they tell us that we have to have an exemption. So this is us pushing back on them to say, oh, that's great. You know, you need to get rid of that 80% and let us tax again at the full rate or some variation thereof. Or my 2 cents here, or if you want to do that, then give us the money that you're creating the hole with. We still have the needs. Number 3 is seek legislation to provide increased reoccurring state funding in keeping with comparable sales for farmland preservation. So I was a little bit surprised, but there was a lot of conversation about farmland preservation. If you think about it, number 2 and number 3 kind of go together, especially out in rural parts of the state. And I'm thinking mainly down east. It's not specifically down east, but there's a lot of vast farmland down east, and a lot of the solar farms are down east. So farmland preservation is number 3 for us. Seek legislation expanding state funding to provide essential medical, mental health, substance use, and social services to persons incarcerated in local detention facilities. So a lot of talk around mental health, substance use. Jails are a big issue for counties, especially in the mental health, substance use world. So we're dealing with financial pressures in the mental health space. And the last goal, seek governmental funding to assist counties that have limited resources with construction of critical facilities. And again, I feel like this one was broadened out this year. We were very focused on public schools for probably a decade, and now I think that needs not been met, but the lottery funds, due to a lot of work that Adam and the team did, really pushed hard to get lottery funds to fill a need for school capital. But now critical needs, infrastructure, water, sewer, other building types, capital needs, but those are falling into critical facilities. That's what we've got. Rose, I will throw it over to you to close us out and to do in Q&A.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kevin. And it's very timely to ask this question. On the league side, our proposed goals are going to go out for vote to you in the cities Friday in our legislative bulletin, or at least that's the goal if we don't have a snowmageddon or nothing else happens. So those votes are being calculated. We went around the state and had regional meetings to hear from our members, have our members weigh in on what they wanted as legislative goals, had virtual sessions, in-person sessions, and also our members could just simply write in and email and ask for what they would want. And then those votes are being tallied and put out for vote or strike that, they're not being put out for vote, and we'll hear of those results on Friday. And if I've said anything wrong there, Aaron, jump in and correct me. I'm hearing nothing, so I think that I'm correct on all that. So this is a very timely topic to talk about here with you all tonight. It was great participation and more efforts to take place throughout this year to follow those goals. Before I close and ask for questions and hear what's on your mind further, I do want to just weigh in quickly also in sympathy of Mayor Medlin. I didn't want to speak up in the middle of your meeting, but I just appreciate so much the wonderful resolution you did in his memory. It makes me think of him, the things that you said. He challenged us to make us better. I love talking with him. And being on Zoom reminds me when we first went on Zoom in COVID, I don't think I had perfected my Zoom face. And so I'm just sitting there during this meeting. And he apparently called into the office to ask if I'd had a death in the family or if something horrible had happened because I'd looked so sad. And I thought that was so kind, very, very kind. And I just felt I loved getting a call from him because it was always going to be right on point. So thank you for sharing about him today and honoring him and letting me speak. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Kevin Lee.
Mr. Chair, I didn't know if you wanted to open it up to the board for any questions that they have. We've probably got about 10 minutes left before we need to go to other business.
Yes, thank you, Lee. Yeah. Anybody have any questions? I guess we can do the hands. Maybe the most orderly would be the hands raised function.
There were also some questions in the chat. I didn't know if you wanted to go through those if there aren't any hands raised.
Okay. Let me look. Okay.
I
Maybe you
think
can help me, Beth. Or
I can respond, Mr. Chair. I think that some of these were covered. I
We've
think
got them.
Yeah, Aaron and Adam might have covered several of those specifically on the local zoning issues and the down zoning. I can just comment from our standpoint that we're aligned on this together in terms of pushing and advocating that they take quick action to repeal. Aaron mentioned something I think is really important to highlight, and that is that, and a lot of us, Rose, Adam, Aaron, and I have been around this stuff for a while now. And the bill coming out and it already being done and cooked and it's locked down and you can't make any changes to it, that's not always been the case. It's usually an iterative process. And so they're making legislation so quickly and so locked down, I would say, that this is the new advocacy style, it seems, which is we got to tell them what they did and educate them about the negative thing that they've done and have to go back and do it. And so, Aaron, I thought that was very illustrative of you to describe that. It's sort of a new thing in the past several years.
Next question. Yeah, maybe, I guess, I'm not sure. Maybe it's things we should be on the lookout for, perhaps.
So I've been hearing some rumors, and by the way, bless you, Rose. If there are, Rose may have another thing to add to this, but I'm worried about property tax and property tax appraisals. We got two separate issues going on that we're dealing with right now, is that property valuations are in some places through the roof. And so the sticker shock of property revals is going to reverberate, I fear, in the halls of the General Assembly, because property tax, property owners getting these sticker shock evaluations who need more information to understand what that means and sort of trying to adjust the valuations. They're going to go down there and the General Assembly is going to be like, well, wait a second, what are these local governments doing on these property evals and that sort of thing? And we fear that they'll try to get into the mechanics, the Machinery Act, and change the laws as it relates to property evals. That's one issue. The separate one is out west going on that is concerning as well. And it might be a perfect storm. And I'm nervous about it because you got the thing that I just described going on. And then out west, what you got going on is you're going to have upset people who get their property tax bills and their land isn't there anymore. Their house isn't there anymore. And they're going to be upset, which is real. And that's true. But they're going to hit at the exact same time. And so a bill could get introduced to really push on property tax stuff at the local level. And that environment in the General Assembly is a little bit of a powder keg right now. That's my worry and concern. Rose, what keeps you up at night?
What doesn't exactly? It is difficult. There's so many new legislators who are coming in with their own ideas and maybe preconceptions or maybe being hit with things that they've not thought a lot about and don't have a prepared response for. That makes it difficult at this point. There's going to be a new budget. And just what you talked about, Kevin, the income tax collections is one thing to add to it. And think the income tax plummeting, perhaps a decline there. More land use issues always is another issue. When you have a complex issue, it's not so easy to make the case. And just what Aaron was talking about with the downzoning, we have very great planners and people who are experts in this area of why it matters. And yet we need to make a case before people like me, maybe who isn't that isn't what we do for a living, but make a case that makes a difference to legislators. How is this going to affect it? How is downzoning going to affect economic development? So it's just like in all things, trying to translate a complex issue that it's not in everyday parlance to what it means in the real world. And that will be what we have to respond to very quickly, or whenever there's an issue, it's translating it into advocacy, if that makes any sense. I think that
Hey,
would be,
Rose,
yeah.
can I
Hey,
pick up
Aaron.
on that? Yeah,
Yes.
because I love that advice. And um, to go back to your point about the state budget, just for a moment, this is something that has gotten little blips in the media over the past year or so. But I think we're going to start hearing more about the fact that these tax cuts that have been implemented over the past decade, where the state income tax has been cut and cut and cut, without the infusion of federal dollars, like from the American Rescue Plan and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, there is going to be a day of reckoning that state budget writers are going to have to face, if not this session, then probably the next biennium. Those tax collections are expected to level off and even drop below the levels that the budget's at right now. And that means cuts. I don't think you're going to see any tax increases. So it's going to be cuts to the budget. It's also going to mean that legislators are going to look for other revenue sources. And the best thing they've come up with so far publicly is gambling money that we've already talked about tonight. I think a lot of us know that that isn't quite going to get us far enough to fund the state's needs. So this is something that I really worry about. Is it an immediate thing that's going to happen next month? No, but it's right around the corner.
I can't remember. I don't think, Aaron, that we talked about medical marijuana too. So
yeah,
just
true.
throwing that in there.
No, Aaron's right about the income tax, and it's interesting that there's still push at the General Assembly to put on the ballot a constitutional amendment to lower the maximum income tax rate. Again, they did it several years ago down to 7%. I think the proposal was to cap no more than 5% income tax, so that it'd just be interesting to see if that proposal is still being floated this year, knowing that this, bit of a cliff is lurking out there either this year or next.
I had an additional question if nobody else has one, about housing and about whether, and notably affordable housing affordability, maybe say it that way, and how do we see anything in the horizon, good or bad, addressing that issue?
I always expect that. I think when I hear city officials talk about affordable housing, I think you have something different in mind than what legislative leadership thinks of when they talk about housing affordability and who can afford homes. I think they are, by and large, satisfied if housing at any affordable level is produced. So just more about supply of housing rather than how affordable it is. Tends to be the focus. And so then that gets us back to the wish lists that the home builders and the development community bring forward. And I fully expect they'll have something that we can't even dream of today that they'll put out there. It'll likely involve, because it typically does, some combination of taking away local government's abilities to shape how that development goes in your communities. But again, we've talked at the league with our colleagues in other states that have similar growth rates and similar political circumstances, and everybody's proposals that they face look pretty different. There's not like a carbon copy proposal out there that Arizona is doing that is going to come to North Carolina tomorrow. But I do think we're prepared for something.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Well, yes, I want to say that. So Kevin, Adam, Rose, and Aaron, thank you so much for answering our questions, giving us the update. And maybe on behalf of the COG, I want to thank you guys for the work you guys do on behalf of the counties and municipalities that make our local government stronger, make our state stronger. And it's, you guys are essential, I see, in the state and advocating on our behalf. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all so much for all you do. Take care. Have a good evening.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Moving on. Next is our spotlight section for the Central Pines Regional Council Clean Water Education Partnership. Presenters are Patty Berry, Senior Water Resources Planner, and Sterling McDonald, Stormwater Education Coordinator. So hopefully Patty and Sterling, you're on and can talk about this.
Hi, Chairman. We are. I am Patty Berry. You're, I think, your only Senior Water Resources Planner. And Sterling McDonald is our AmeriCorps. She's our Direct Education Coordinator for the Clean Water Education Partnership. We call it CWEP. Next slide, please. So here we are, in case you want to see us more up close. And CWEP primarily does, it's strictly focused for the most part on stormwater education and outreach to protect our water quality. It's a cooperative effort from local governments, county, and the state to protect water quality in the Tarpamical, Neuse, and Cape Fear River basins. We deliver high quality education and outreach, usually through videos and direct education. And what CWEP does is basically we have everyone pulls their resources together and we can do more together than individually. Next slide. So there are 44 partner communities. 25 of them are part of the Central Pines Regional Council, our region. So what's ended up happening is that we have other counties that wanted to be part of our program because there are no programs like that for their regional councils. Next slide. This is the distribution that we have. You can see we have some counties. We're all the way to Craven and Beaufort now. We have Pembroke, who just contacted us. They wanted to be members. And honestly, Charlotte just asked Sterling and I, and we got permission from the steering committee for CWEP to do a presentation for down in Charlotte for this huge conference they have. So anyway, next slide. So what's the issue? Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but what is stormwater? And, you know, for some of our campaigns, public outreach campaigns, we hired CBS 17 this year, and they had no idea what stormwater is. So basically, stormwater is that rainwater or snow melt that we have for some of us today that runs off pervious surfaces and eventually goes into our catch basins and into our bodies of water. So why is this an issue? It's an issue because it carries pollutants with it. It usually carries nutrients, pesticides, fertilizers, oil and grease, you name it. And those catch basins that you see, most of them, unless they're in a parking lot and we're permitted and have oil and grease traps in them, they're not cleaning the water. It's going straight into a stream or a body of water that gets filtered through wetlands and whatnot, but goes straight into our drinking water supply. So what's the solution? Well, you all have heard of the Clean Water Act. Well, there's a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, NPDES. It's a federal law that requires, there's different phases of it, but it requires that municipal separate storm sewer systems, they call them MS4s, have stormwater management plans. And that provides maintenance and whatnot and requirements to keep that stormwater clean. Next slide. I'm trying to explain it. It's a little complicated. So there's the federal MS4. So an MS4 is either by it's by population, whether you're urban or suburban, and some municipal storm sewer systems are regulated and some are not. And so I've actually made a list. There's 2 slides, so I'm going to let you see this slide. So for CPRC delegates, your jurisdictions are on here alphabetically. The blue are existing Clean Water Education Partnership members, and the light blue, the next column that you have are whether you're a regulated MS4 community or a tipped county. Tipped county is they're only regulated for post-construction regarding stormwater. So the next is and those communities are regulated. So then we have our nutrient management regulations, whether you've heard about the Jordan Lake rules probably, or the Neuse River. And those are when we have contaminants in the state, we'll have rules and regulations protecting those watersheds. And sometimes your community will be part of that and have stormwater requirements. So there's either federal or state requirements for public outreach. Next slide, please. So I just want you guys to be able to see what I've looked at. There's 25 CPRC communities that are part of the Clean Water Education Partnership. And some of you may know as delegates that you are part of it, and some of you may not. These tables and this presentation will be available if you're curious. Yep. And so we have two public outreach campaigns we do. We have a mass media and direct education. And Sterling McDonald is our AmeriCorps. And we have an AmeriCorps every year. We work with we partner with the Conservation Trust of North Carolina annually. And I wish we could keep our AmeriCorps more than 1 year, but that's usually what the program is. And she does our direct education, and she'll explain all of that when I'm done with our mass media campaign. But we're going to hopefully play this video for you. This was last year's campaign. Beth, I think
when rain or water hits hard surfaces like pavement, it creates stormwater runoff. This picks up lots of nasty pollution and drains out to the rivers, streams, and lakes that hold our drinking water. Here's some things we can all do to stop stormwater pollution. Motor oil, gasoline, and soapy water from washing cars ends up in our storm drains and water supply, where they can make people and animals sick. Never allow these pollutants to go into the street or storm drain, and always dispose of them properly.
Okay, next slide. Oop. Sorry, it's easier when we're in person. So this was last year's FY24 mass media campaign. Every year, the QEP steering committee chooses a pollutant that they would like to see us advertise on, and then they decide what they want to do. Last year, we reached over 14.5 million impressions throughout our 44 QEP partner areas. We did that through Spectrum TV streaming, cable TV. We also hired outsourced marketing solutions that did our digital campaigns and our radio campaigns. We also did it in Spanish. We did newspaper and online. And that totaled about 14.5 million folks. You can see the cost associated with it is less than a cent per impression. Next slide, please. So now Sterling's just going to tell you a little bit about what she does regarding direct education, which is another avenue versus the online Facebook, Instagram, TV, cable advertisements.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Sterling McDonald. As Patty said, I am the AmeriCorps member for this year. I am through the Conservation Trust for North Carolina that has an AmeriCorps program called Resilience Corps NC, and it's centered around environmental education and building more resilient communities environmentally. So in that, I'm placed here as the stormwater education coordinator, and I teach about stormwater to kids, adults in a variety of settings. Next slide. Yeah, so I do provide some administrative assistance to the mass media campaign and other aspects of our program, but I'm primarily organizing these educational events, and it can look like a lot of different things. I do a lot of school visits where I provide lesson plans and materials for our partners. A lot of the time I'm teaching alongside a stormwater employee or public works employee who's available to come teach with me. And I will tailor this to the age group and the teacher's curriculum, whatever they would like. I do festivals where I bring games and materials and help our members interact with the public and facilitate that for them. I do library readings with preschoolers. I do presentations like this. It can be whatever our partners would like, what they think will best suit their community's needs. I work with them to try to make that come true. So some other things that I do that aren't featured here, I do help our partners plan what we call Regional Creek Week. If you're not familiar with Creek Week, it is a week every March where we dedicate that week to helping connect our communities to our local waterways. And we do that through hosting events like litter cleanups. We have storm drain marking events. Morrisville has a 5K, all sorts of stuff. It's really fun. And as part of that, I help our partners plan their events by giving them resources and giving them a space to brainstorm together. I also plan a virtual event for them to advertise if they can't plan their own. And yeah, I also run our social media account and our website, try to get the word out about stormwater and advertise the program some. Next slide. Yeah, so this is a summary of all the places I've been for my first quarter. I've been to 11 different communities, so municipalities and counties within our partnership, 14 different events. Had lots of fun, been to many harvest festivals, school visits. Yeah, and I have a school visit coming up with Carrie, Kingswood Magna Elementary School, where I'll be talking to an assembly of 400 elementary schoolers, which will be fun. So much more to come, and I'm excited to be here. Yeah. You can next slide. Yeah, and this is just a link to our website. It has some great resources. If you know anyone or have any school connections that you think would benefit from a direct education visit from us, you can request there or reach out to us directly. We also have some great resources for homeowners about managing stormwater runoff on your property. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Sterling. And I just wanted to let you all know that this year, the CWEP Steering Committee chose sediment, floodplain and buffer protection. And we've hired CBS 17. We are in the process of making our videos now. And Sterling and I are also going to be on their My Carolina show. And that will be on our website for all to see. So we have some exciting things coming soon. And thank you so much for having us. Any questions?
Yeah, Randy.
Yeah, thank you for that presentation. And Sterling, thank you for the outreach. That's wonderful. Is there a way to include, for example, many of the municipalities have summer camps and summer programs, you know, that if that could be part of the outreach?
Yeah, so Randy, that is a very good question. And unfortunately, our AmeriCorps timeframe, it ends in July. So we actually have a direct education gap through July, pretty much July, August, and September until we get our new AmeriCorps on board. So we're missing that summer timeframe for direct education. That is something that we're working on. I've talked to the steering committee. We are actually hiring Sterling next year we got approval at the last steering committee meeting to cover this summer. But they wanted her she's going to be doing a new design of the stormwater brochure. So we wouldn't be able to do camps this year, but that is definitely something that we can put on our radar and talk to CWEP about.
Yeah, because there's many within the municipalities and connected with municipalities. There's several STEAM programs and programs for minority students that come out of municipalities that are focused on climate and environmental sciences that would greatly appreciate having the expertise of that kind of a presentation. So yeah, let me know how things go. And the other point I was going to make is connecting with the EENC, the Environmental Educators of North Carolina, that may be available to help in a gap.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, great. Well, Patty and Sterling, thank you so much for sharing. It's really great work you guys are doing, and I think all appreciated here at the COG. Okay, there'd be claps if you were here in person, so we'll give you a virtual clap. All right, next we have Elena Keegan with the 2024 Membership Satisfaction Survey results. Elena, off to you.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be with you all. I'm here just to provide a quick update on our membership survey. For those of you who are new or returning, you may be wondering why we're gathering satisfaction results from your communities, and it's because you are the owners of our organization. And so it's really important to us that we know, are we meeting your expectations? Do the programs that we offer align with what you're looking for? And a number of other metrics. So I will just really quickly share a little bit about the purpose of the survey. As I mentioned, obviously, we're a membership organization. It's important that we know what you all feel is working well. This is also the first time that our survey aligned with our first ever strategic plan. So we adopted a strategic plan, I think about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than that. And several of the metrics that we collected in this survey aligned with the metrics that we would like to collect for our strategic plan. And so it's really important for us to have those benchmarks that we can start gathering as we do this survey in future years. The survey was conducted late in the summer, and it was mostly done digitally through our newsletter. Hopefully everyone receives the Pine Needler, which is our fabulous newsletter that's sent out twice a month, but was also distributed on all of our social media channels, through direct email, via staff who, when they were working with folks through programs. So really put out a broad reach. And I'll also note, because it will come up in a future slide, that we did this in collaboration with the Durham Chapel Hill MPO that is housed at our organization, since we share membership. So a little bit about who responded. You can see on the map that we sort of reflect what percentage of each area of our region is reflected in the survey. And the reason I wanted to make sure I mentioned that DCHC was a part of this effort is because it may be attributed to why there is such a high percentage of Orange and Durham County area, just because those are the areas that they are specifically looking to reach. But obviously, we're happy to see that we had at least some percentage from every one of our counties in the region. You can also see just a little bit about the type of roles that were reflected and the years in the current role. We had a really great representation from folks at the senior leadership level. So that's your managers, your assistant managers, and department heads. And then a good reflection of elected officials and staff members, as well as a few other categories of folks. And then a lot of folks that actually have been in their roles for a good chunk of time. So these are just a couple key metrics that I wanted to share. These are specifically ones that are reflected in the strategic plan that we want to measure over time. And so each of these is the percentage of respondents that either selected strongly agree or agree with the statement. And so these are things that we hope to continue to measure to make sure that we are addressing them collectively. So obviously it's important for us to see satisfaction. Happy to see 83%. I will also call out the remaining percent was not dissatisfied. They were neutral, because I think that's important to note. I think we're happy to say that no one is dissatisfied. Some folks just felt they weren't familiar enough, things like that. 60% feel we're a leading organization in the region, which we find to be really important for us to continue to grow as a metric. 62% feel they know who to contact when they have a specific request. And then 36% feel that we have a cohesive vision for land use, transportation, housing, and so on in our region. Just a little bit more, 73% of respondents felt very informed or informed about our role and what we do. And we're always trying to make sure that people feel like they understand the scope of our services and what we do for them as a membership organization. Also included just a couple of results that we had about the events we offered. We found a lot of folks actually had not heard about some of our events. And so that's something that we have on our radar in terms of a next step to be making sure that folks are receiving the information and the services that we're offering. And then, as I mentioned, the Pod Enabler continues to be a fan favorite, as you can see on the graph on the right. Service delivery. So we always are trying to make sure that the services we're offering align with what your community needs. And also this is a chance to make sure that folks who are taking the survey know what we are offering, because sometimes folks don't even realize the services that we can provide to you. And so this is a chance to have it in front of you in a survey. I called out a couple of examples from the other category here because there's obviously a very large percentage of folks who said other. And so you can see there was a long laundry list, but the most repeated ones were things like our foreign trade zone program, housing programs like our housing rehabilitation administration grants, things like that. Another thing that we did, and this was based on some conversations that I believe Lee has had with the board in the past, was highlighting some examples that have worked in other regions in the country, just to show what's been successful in other places that we haven't necessarily done ourselves, and getting a sense from our local governments and our members what they saw as most important. And so this list from top to bottom is a ranked order of what respondents felt were most important for us to focus on. And I will actually note that we are already having some conversations with managers about the regional pay and classification efforts. So we're really happy that that one is moving forward. Nothing's final, but it's in the works because that's been something that has been high on the list for our local governments for a long time is better HR data. And then just some additional takeaways from the survey. Would love to hear from any of you as well if you've found other things that you want to make sure we raise. But continued room for us to continue communicating our value. We want to make sure that we reach 100% of folks who feel like they know what we do and feel like we're a leader in the region. So we obviously have a lot of room to improve there. And then continued opportunities to be an information gatherer and a place for shared learning, since many folks indicated that that was something they found most valuable about our organization. And I believe that's all I've got. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Elena. Be time for a couple questions, if you have them. All right, I don't see any, and I think everybody's getting a little tired, so let's keep the ball rolling. And Elena, I guess we can reach out to you directly, I guess, if there are questions about the survey, right? Okay, wonderful. Okay, next on the agenda is an update from the forum by Delegate Kathleen Ferguson. Kathleen.
Yes, so couple things. First, I know on the agenda it talks about the legislative goals. I will address that. But first, I wanted to give an update of our last meeting, which was focused on AI, government use of AI. So what is happening, in short, over half of government employees use AI, and less than 2% of entities have an AI policy. And what that is actually putting sensitive information at risk. There's certain platforms that will vacuum your hard drive, things like that. Not a good thing to have that happen. And one of the North Carolina COGs, the Upper Coastal Plain, Robert Hyatt, has been working on this and is a national leader in public service use of AI. Was put together an AI Academy being piloted with Upper Coastal Plain COG. I'm actually in that class myself, so I wanted to share a little bit about that. There are 4 books on the shelves about using AI in the public sector, and Robert Hyatt has authored 2 of them. on Amazon. They're actually really cool, and it's how to utilize it effectively. So I highly recommend No Toaster. I will get No Toaster for highlighting it, but for governments, he has a policy template that the school of government is using and sharing with local governments that are interested in putting together an AI policy. He also has a COG AI policy. So that's the first piece. I'll stop there. If there's any questions, I may not have answers, but I'll find out.
Kathleen, this is Jennifer Robinson. Can you put the titles of those books in the chat, or could you have, could one of the staff members, Beth, could you put that in the follow-up?
I will follow up with that. I don't have them at my fingertips, but I will follow up and have that shared. I can also share the presentation that was provided to COG. It is a long presentation, but for those who are kind of geekish like me, I found it interesting.
Hey, this is Steve Rao. I really appreciate your leadership on this issue. I've actually written over the last few months extensively on this issue on WRAL TechWire. And one thing I think we also need to be aware of is I think it's very important to communicate to Governor Stein and his administration about the importance of having an AI strategy for the state, because I think it would be really helpful with the legislature and the governor to set a directive. I've been hearing, that there could be a task force and things like that, and taking local government perspective in that so that there's a central, place in the state where there's guidance, right? Because I think so many people are confused about, how to use generative AI. And I know in Mooresville, we're actually incorporating our budget this year to have generative AI for searchability of documents, but also we have a new chatbot called Morris the Cricket, which is kind of cute, play on cricket, but it's going to be like an AI kind of driven thing for residents. So I just want to throw that out there, because I think everybody's kind of wanting to begin, but kind of confused about the security concerns, data concerns, and also the opportunity.
Thank you, Steve. That is a good point. That is one of the things that Robert and me is addressing, is security and utilization. One of the things about, there is a task force. It's primarily IT, no users. That's a downside. One of the things we're advocating for is having actual users, so it's not all academics. And certainly can have a conversation offline about that and connect you with Robert Hyatt.
Thank you.
Absolutely. With that, I'm going to shift gears to the policy agenda. And Lee, please correct me. My information, because I remember I've got the list, is that we're using the same as the 2024 policy agenda, except I believe we are not focusing on the arms system replacement. Is that accurate? Or did
Yes,
I say
ma'am.
that's wrong?
No, you're correct.
Okay, thank you. So with that, the policy agenda for 2025 is just about identical from last year. And I will provide a copy of this for folks as also a follow-up. Very briefly, the priorities are supporting financial support of the COGS to provide the financial administration for local governments. One of the things to remind folks is, because COGS are statutorily a local government, we have the ability to serve as finance offices, but to do that, we need staff, and to have staff, we need funding. So that's one of our priorities. The long-term care ombudsman program, which lives in our aging group. We are low on the number of ombudsmen per resident, severely. We are requesting an additional monies for that to address the needs of those in long-term care. We are asking for prosperity zone modification to more closely align with the COG regions to reduce the duplication of infrastructure. Also, it eliminates and reduces confusion and supports better coordination. We are focusing also on disaster resilience efforts and hazard mitigation planning and funding to continue our efforts there. As has been talked about earlier, the COGS have been instrumental in Western North Carolina. Land to Sky has been a focal point in shouldering a monster amount of support with help from all of the COGS. And certainly Lee has shared a lot about his efforts, and that continues on. The legislative authority for COGS, we are asking for legislation to authorize us to apply for transit planning capital operating grants offered through DOT and FTA. We are continuing to request high-speed broadband expansion. As everyone knows, that continues to be an issue. We are focusing on strategic partnerships for regional services. In short, we are, with the infrastructure that's in place with the COGS, that we are reiterating to work with the state whenever there are regionalization discussions, so that there's not random or capricious invented regions, but utilizing existing regional infrastructure. And lastly, to call for eligibility of state and federal grants. And again, I will share a copy of this with everyone along with the other information. Our legislative day will be in May, and more will be coming about that later on. So with that, any questions?
Miss Ferguson, the legislative agenda is actually in the packet, so folks.
Oh, thank you. I
have it and
completely glossed over. My bad.
It's okay. No worries. No worries.
I was focused on my little paper.
Well, Kathleen, thank you for your leadership and involvement in this, and we appreciate the update.
Absolutely.
Okay, getting close to 8. So Miss Keegan, 2025 Regional Day. And Beth.
Yeah, so I will go very quickly because I know we are very close to 8. Hopefully all of you have received an invitation to 2025 Regional Day. It is going to be next month. And I know for some of you, you were there with us last year. This is our second time doing it. It's really an opportunity to have all of the elected officials in our region, notably new ones, but also returning, come together and talk about opportunities and lessons learned with one another. Because we're close to time, we were going to pose several questions to you all. We're going to be having an elected official panel at Regional Day. And what I'm proposing, and Chair, feel free to say yes or no to this, we could put it in the chat and send it out after. And folks, if you have ideas, please feel free to send them by email. We'd love to hear from you what you would like the panel to talk about. So, and we'll also include a link to register for the event. We hope to see you all there.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that, and be sure to reach out to Elena with the ideas. All right, next we have the consent agenda, and the items are on the screen. Would anyone like to make any changes or remove one of these items for additional consideration?
Move to approve as presented. Kathleen
Thank you
Ferguson.
very much. And do we have a second?
Second, Chris DeShazer.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Beth, would you call the roll on this?
Yes. All right. Let me pull my spreadsheet up. All righty. Aberdeen.
Will Mullaney, aye.
Anger. Apex.
Brett Gant, aye.
Archer Lodge. Benson. Broadway. Carrboro.
Randy Haven O'Donnell, yes.
Carthage. Cary.
Jennifer Robinson, aye.
Clayton. City of Durham.
Deidreana Freeman, aye.
Durham County. Durham County here. It might have dropped off. Fuquay-Varina.
Arnie Haynes, aye.
Hillsborough.
Kathleen Ferguson, Hillsborough, aye.
Holly Springs.
Krista Shazer, aye.
Johnston County. Is Butch still
Alder,
here?
aye.
Kenley. Nightdale.
Mark Swan, aye.
Lee County. Micro.
Katie Garcia, aye. Sorry, I was registering for regional day.
Moore County. Morrisville.
Rao, aye.
Orange County.
Jean Hamilton, aye.
Pine Level. Pine Bluff.
Aye. Sure.
Pinehurst.
Jeff Morgan, aye.
Pittsburgh.
Pamela Baldwin, aye.
Princeton.
Stacy Johnson, aye.
Raleigh.
Mitchell Silver, aye.
Robbins. Rollsville.
Ronnie Kern, aye.
Sanford.
Rebecca Selman, aye.
Selma.
Byron McAllister, aye.
Siler City. Smithfield. Southern Pines. Bass. Wake County. Oh, Susan had to leave. Wake Forest.
Nick Slowinski, aye.
Wendell.
Wendell, aye.
Whispering Pines. Wilson's Mills.
Wilson's Mills, aye.
Zebulon.
Shannon Baxter, aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
Ooh.
Beth, this is Mike Lee. I was double muted for somehow, but
Oh,
I
okay.
vote aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
Beth, make sure we call Foxfire as well.
Okay. I don't think we have their delegates yet.
The mayor's on. She's the delegate.
Oh, okay, okay. Foxfire.
Foxfire, aye. Janice Gregoridge.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to Foxfire for that first vote. And thank you guys all for sticking with us. I know the executive committee started meeting at 4 o'clock today, so this is a long day of meetings. And thanks to the staff too for getting us through this kind of long session here. So let me pass it over to Lee for the executive director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to make this as quick as possible, but I do have a few things I wanted to lift up and make sure the board was aware of. Two great things. Well, it's all great, but these two things are really great. I wanted to officially welcome Elena back from maternity leave. She came back at the beginning of January. We are thrilled that she's a new mom, but also thrilled that she's back at work. I don't know if she would say the two same things, but we're very happy to have Elena back. And we wanted to also congratulate Beth on her marriage. Beth was married last week and spent a week up in Maine, I think, for our honeymoon. And it's great to see her here. So congratulations, Beth. I didn't forget. I was waiting for this moment to say congratulations and welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just wanted to real quickly thank you to Patty and Sterling on the QEP presentation. That's a great example she talked about of shared services, and again, how the COG can serve as a place for multiple local governments to come together, really leverage and scale up your impact. And you're checking the box. You have to do this for your EPA requirements for those that are regulated. And what a great way to come together and get even more bang for your buck. So Patty and Sterling, thank you for the great presentation and the great work that you do through the QEP program and other things too, but for tonight, QEP. I also wanted to welcome Foxfire to the membership of the Regional Council and remind the board that we are so close to 100% membership. This has been the chair's priority for this year. For those that have been on the board for some time, you'll remember we were at 37 members 6 or 7 years ago, and now we're at 48 members and only 2 away from 100% membership. And we feel pretty confident that I think we're going to get there. We're hopeful, but thank you to all the local governments that are part of our organization. And being able to say we're 100% membership, I think, is really going to make our impact even more broad, and we can speak with one voice for the region. So thank you for that. Another couple things, it's beginning to be retreat season, and we're really, really pleased. We'll be in Raleigh, actually, starting on Friday for the City Council retreat in Raleigh. We'll be helping to facilitate that. Elena's taken the lead on that. I'll be helping Holly Springs with their retreat, I believe, in February. We've had some outreach from Apex about maybe helping with a portion of the retreat for the town of Apex. And I think Carthage has reached out to help with facilitating their retreat. That's something we really enjoy doing. So we're looking forward to those opportunities. I'm really proud of our staff and the good work that they do every day, but we were involved in writing a grant for the town of Pittsburgh, and were notified about a week ago that the town got a $1 million raise grant that our grant writing team helped write for Pittsburgh. I don't have enough time to go into all the details, but it's about ped and bike planning for the town. Raise grants are very competitive, and our grant assistance team has once again secured a grant. So congratulations to that team. We also provided support to Chatham County for the application to the School of Government in the Carolina across 100 counties. And Chatham County was going to be one of the teams for the Our State, Our Homes program. I think Lee County got that as well, but talking about affordable housing, and I'm really proud of our housing team for helping out Chatham County with that application, that successful application. The other thing I just wanted to say as we come together as local governments, and I know Kevin talked about public service, we are certainly praying and thinking about the officer in Raleigh that was shot last night. And I know that's a tough situation for the city. And as a former manager, that is a call that I dreaded would come, that any of our employees were hurt seriously or anything else like that. So we're certainly thinking about the city of Raleigh during this time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Lee, and I echo those concerns or that sentiment. And just so you guys know, one of the biggest selling pitches that I've done so far with the meetings with some of the recently joined members is how great our staff is and how competent and how great the service that they can provide sometimes is. Okay, we're getting past 8 now, but that's okay. Chair's report, nothing to report from me, but I'd like to do an around the region. And I was thinking about it, didn't plan this with Beth or Lee or anybody, but I would like to hear at least a couple of people volunteer, if you would, something in your local government or community that's going to happen in 2025 that has never happened before in your community or government.
This is Steve Rao. I'll go. We've approved in downtown Morrisville, so we'll be breaking ground on the first demonstration project for that. So that's something big that's occurred. And I did want to just say a statement about Representative Joe John, who passed away today. I know many people knew him, and it was just so sad. I just found out. So anyway, we pray for his family.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, my wife works for the crime lab, and he was the crime lab director for a while, so that's hit kind of hard. Anybody else?
I'll go. Town of Carborough and Orange County, we're opening Carborough's first freestanding municipal library. I hate to say this, it's February 21st. And Valerie Fouchy, our representative, is one of the folks who will be making the dedication. And we've extended an invitation to Dr. Carla Hayden, the Librarian of Congress, to come and be part of the dedication if she's available. So we're thrilled, and this is just a shout out to my colleagues who are representing Orange County.
All right, we need a few more guys. All right, well, I'll go in Apex. We are passing, as far as I'm aware, our first comprehensive Parks and Rec master plan at our next council meeting. It's been a lot of work. We've had like maps and plans, but something that's comprehensive looking far in the future it'll be a first for Apex. So excited about that. I love these master plans, whatever they are, because they're so they determine so much of the future development in these communities. All right, last call. Anybody? I want to see any more hands. All right.
I'll go.
Oh yeah,
I'll go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, good.
I don't know how to raise my hand because I don't use Zoom. I use Teams all the time. So, but Central Plains Regional Council is actually coordinating the first U.S. Water Alliance One Water NC delegation meeting February 13th. We have over 200 people that will be participating in the meeting. And I actually have a meeting with my boss tomorrow. We are bringing US EPA and NCDEQ together. They are going to be the opening folks, and we are talking about their approach to One Water and their support. So I just wanted to let you all know that. And if you're interested, you're connected. I can get you in still. It's free. And if you wanted to come to it, it's up on our CPRC website. That's it. I hope that was okay, Lee.
No, I think it's great. I think I'm the chair. I think it's great, and I appreciate that information. Good, nice to chime in. And on that note, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Will Mullaney.
Thank you, Ms. Laney. Second. Okay. With that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everybody.